4th of July, everybody. So welcome to another Cucina Quarantena. I know you're all busy out there probably getting ready for your holiday, and I am too. So I thought I would show you what I'm making today. And I know that you probably think that I only cook European food or Italian food or Thai or what have you, but I actually do love American food.
She made a really good hamburger last night.
I did. I made an awesome hamburger last night. So the thing is about our time when we can travel all over the world is that we have the ability to mix and match and kind of fuse different influences into our cooking. And so that's kind of what I do. So today we're eating American since it's an American holiday. I haven't been in the United States for 4th of July in so long I can't even remember. Last year I was in Florence on 4th of July. I have been in Paris on 4th of July. I've been in Switzerland, but very rarely in the States. So I thought I'd
you were here like 2 years ago, right?
Maybe 2 or 3, I can't remember, but it's very rare. So today I'm making my favorite dish to share at like a potluck or whatever. We're going to go down to my parents'. So I'm making baked beans, which Nico didn't know that when he picked up the camera. So there you go. So I want to show you how to make the best baked beans ever. You'll never buy them from a can ever again because they're so easy to make and so good. So what I've done here, come on over, Nico, and you can show them. I have fried. Yeah, exactly. You could add potatoes and make that into a breakfast hash. There's like a million different things you could do with this.
That would be a really good like scramble.
Yeah, it could be a scramble. So this is a good base. So just 6 strips of cut up bacon, a sweet onion, and garlic and yellow bell pepper. I got this bell pepper because I am now frugal. I have been searching the discount racks of the grocery store for when they have the produce that's about to go south, and I found bags of these for $1. 3 of these beautiful yellow bell peppers for $1. I know. So we're going to be eating bell peppers a lot this week. So that's my base for my my pork and beans. So here's the next thing I'm going to do. I'm using an Instant Pot. So come on over and take a look at the Instant Pot.
The Instant Pot is just glorious.
It's magic is what it really is. So I just got regular beans and I put them in here. This is a whole bag of red beans. And I put them in here with 8 cups of water. So 1 pound of red beans with 8 cups of water. And then I grabbed a sprig of rosemary from my garden. And I tossed that in there too. And just remember, cooking is what you want it to be. So don't hesitate to change up the recipe based on your tastes. So I'm going to drain these now, which our kitchen sink is rather full. This is the recipe that I'm basing this off of. It's All American Baked Beans from the New Basics Cookbook, which is one of my favorite classics. It's from the 80s, I think. This one was purchased at Goodwill for $4. But you can get them at Amazon. And this really is, I think, the best cookbook I've ever owned. So we're going to just kind of vaguely follow this recipe.
All American baked beans.
Yes, exactly. So the first thing to do now that I've had these in here, I put them in for a half an hour on high. 8 cups of water to 1 pound of beans with a sprig of rosemary. I'm going to go ahead and drain them. You don't need to show people our dirty sink.
I'm showing them the beans.
Okay. I did a major cleaning yesterday of the house, so I didn't super scrub because the kids were out fishing, so I had the house to myself, so I polished the floors and I did a bunch of house maintenance that was necessary.
Look at that. Just take this out.
Take that out, yeah. Okay, so we have the beans that are basically cooked, all right? So we're going to go ahead and dump those back in. Now, what you can do with an Instant Pot, if you wanted to do it all in one pot, is you could theoretically drain the beans and then set them aside, and then use the saute function. If you don't have one of these, this is a magical appliance because it can just saute, it can pressure cook, it can slow cook.
Ooh, in the most recent version, it says it can
air fry.
It can like pressure seal cans.
Yeah, it can do all kinds of things. So this is a really magical thing if you don't have one in your house. They also have an air fryer attachment now for it. So we've got the beans all ready to go. So I'm going to grab this, which I have pre-made just because I didn't want to bore you guys with making this piece of it. And yes, I am scraping all the bacon fat off into the beans with it.
So it makes it delicious.
Yeah, this is not a low-calorie dish, but on 4th of July, I'm not real sure anybody's interested in low-calorie dishes.
Yeah, nothing that you eat on 4th of July is low-calorie.
No, nothing is low-calorie. Nico is on the camera today because Luca stays up until 5 o'clock in the morning every Friday. So he's downstairs snoozing. Okay, so we've got that mixed in.
That looks so good.
I know, it looks good already. But wait, there's more. So now we have to add in the ingredients that make baked beans baked beans. So what you're going to need to make this baked beans, and it's really up to you what you put in, you need a sweetener. So we're going to put in...
But more, there's wheat.
We're going to put in 1 cup of brown sugar. We're going to put in 6 tablespoons of molasses. We're going to put in 6 tablespoons of maple syrup. I know that sounds like a lot of sugary stuff, but that's what makes baked beans good. Then we need that kind of umami flavor, the sort of like kind of flavor. And Worcestershire is what I would usually use, except for I have only like 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire, and the recipe calls for a 1/4 cup.
Oh,
so
gosh.
What I'm going to do is use the rest of my Worcestershire, and then I'm going to use soy sauce. And this is a really good replacement if you don't have Worcestershire. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of similar. And then ketchup. You need ketchup, and usually this calls for 2 cups of ketchup. But I don't use that much ketchup because that much ketchup is just too much sugar and preservatives, so I'm going to use half that amount. I'm going to use a cup of ketchup, and then I like to spice it up with this because this is Rotel. If you have seen these in your grocery store, pick up a few cans. This is one of the staples in my house. It's diced tomatoes with green chilies, and I use it because I cook a lot of Mexican food. You can use it for all Mexican foods. You can use it as basis for pasta sauces. I made salsa out of this. The other day we needed salsa, but I didn't want to go to the grocery store.
That basically is like a base for salsa. Just add something spicy.
Exactly. So to make salsa, I just take this, which is pre-made with tomatoes and chilies, and I add diced up fresh red onions and whatever else I want to, maybe some cumin and lime, and you can make salsa out of this really fast. So this is a great staple to have. If you've never seen Rotel before, I highly recommend checking out your grocery store. You can find it probably in the canned goods aisle. I always stock them though, and they're it's like $1 a can, and in case we end up being locked down in our houses again, this is a good thing to have around. So I am going to go ahead and drain these, and then I'm going to dump them in. Now you can be creative here and just put in flavors that you like to make these the specific version. I also have some of this wonderful Dijon mustard that's very spicy. You could put some of this in if you wanted to.
Maybe like a teaspoon of that.
You could, yeah. I'm actually going to dump just a tiny bit of red wine in too, because that's a flavor that I like to add. So again, this is creative, and that's what I love about
You can see the wine like there.
This. So here comes the brown sugar. All right. Nico, here, why don't you take this, and while you're filming, go ahead and start mixing it around.
All right.
All right. Here comes the Worcestershire.
Sorry about the weird shots. It's kind of hard to mix and film, but...
You can scoot back just a little bit. There you go.
I'll do my best here.
All right. Now we're going to add soy sauce. And again, this is just sort of creativity here. So I'm just pouring in some soy sauce. All right. And then we need our molasses and our maple syrup. So these call for 6 tablespoons each. So I'm just going to do a couple of good glugs. 1, 2, 3 good glugs.
See, maple syrup really makes baked beans, like, good.
Yeah.
You have to add something sweet to baked beans.
And molasses is probably the secret ingredient that you don't know about. So here comes the molasses, a few glugs of good molasses.
Oh,
this is
I didn't even realize we had molasses.
We always have molasses, yeah. You got to be sparing with it though, because molasses is a pretty strong flavor.
You can turn an entire loaf of bread brown.
Okay, so scoot back and let me move this. Yeah, so this has exactly the right combination of smells. So it should be a little bit acidic and vinegary. It should be a little bit sweet.
It smells like the stuff from the can.
But I bet it's going to taste better.
Oh, it's going to taste so much better.
So some people like to put in things like liquid smoke. I wouldn't put that in. What I would put in if we
Liquid smoke?
Yeah, liquid smoke. It's like a barbecue flavor. So you could put that in. The other thing you can potentially do, which I would probably choose to do, is to put in some smoked salt if you have smoked salt. I usually have that in stock.
Or like garlic salt or something.
Oh, I've already put garlic in. Smoked salt is something different.
Here's our spice cabinet.
Yeah, which also needs a pretty serious clean out. We do have some smoked salt. alderwood smoked salt, and this is from my favorite
Beautiful.
spice place, Market Spice, which is in the Pike.
Oh, that stuff is that place is the best.
So
That's
smell
awesome
this,
tea.
Nico. Have a scent, a whiff of it.
Whoa!
Yeah. So what does that smell like?
It smells like ribs. It smells like barbecued ribs.
Smells like a campfire to me. So we're gonna dump in there. That was just a smidge. If I had a little more, I'd put it in, but we'll put that in. And then our final ingredient, the shame of my pantry, is ketchup, because ketchup is really not very good for you. But
It's not, but it has a decent flavor.
yeah, so we're doing other things to avoid using too much ketchup, but I have not found a way to avoid using the ketchup. This is the same with Sloppy Joes. I've made.
Couldn't you use like tomato paste though?
Well, no, because it doesn't have the same flavor. That's what I was just trying to get at, is that I have tried using other things for Sloppy Joes and for baked beans, and it just doesn't taste the same unless you use some ketchup. So, all right. So there's our baked beans. Now, if you were doing this without an Instant Pot, you could use canned beans if you want, and you can do this whole process. But because we woke up late today and we're expected down at Grandma's house in about an hour and a half, I don't have the time to put these in the oven and let them sit there for hours. So that's why we are doing the Instant Pot. So I started these less than an hour ago with dried beans. So you can go from dried
Those
beans.
were dried?
They were, yes, they were dried beans. And in just a short amount of time, you can have everything ready to go. So we're going to cancel. And then in this case, I'm just going to go to pressure cook. And I'm going to pressure cook this. We don't need to pressure cook it as long as the beans. I'm going to pressure cook it for 10 minutes. Now, it doesn't actually take only 10 minutes. That would be super magical. It takes longer because what has to happen now is that the Instant Pot needs to build up pressure for it to finish cooking. So there we go. It'll probably be about 20 minutes. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to build up the pressure. And then at the end of that, I just vent this, and then my baked beans will be done, and it will have taken me a total of about an hour and a half, which is insane considering that this recipe usually takes me about 4 or 5 hours. If I do this with dried beans, I have to soak them overnight. In the morning, I have to boil them, and they take a long time to boil. And then I put them into my big, stew pot, and I put in all these ingredients, and I let it bubble, and then I stick it into the oven. So that's a process that's going to take like half a day to do it the right way. This is such an incredible shortcut. So we'll have these ready to go to Grandma's in just about a half an hour. So that's what's up for 4th of July here in the Cucina Quarantena, homemade baked beans. So I hope that you guys are out there having a good time today and enjoying yourselves in a happy and healthy manner. We're going to go down to my parents' where there's a reservation nearby, and there's always quite the fireworks display. So we'll enjoy that. So, buona serata. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow for another edition of Cucina Quarantena.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao.